Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres. And this morning, I am finally going to get around to something I've been wanting to do for a couple of weeks, which is to shut this section of this bed down. As you can see, we have drip irrigation on it. So the first thing I want to do is actually disconnect that drip irrigation and set it so that it can water the other half of this, but not this part. Then I'm going to clean up any trash in here, get out any weeds, and I'm going to cover it with cardboard and leave it until next time we want to plant. We had originally planned to plant this bed. We've changed our plans because of the problems we've had with deer, and we will probably be clearing out this bed and planting that one, but first things first. So let's get to this. Now, in order to shut off these irrigation lines, all I need to do is put on the little caps inside here. And I want to get that done now because I can hear that the irrigation is already running on some of the other beds, and I don't want the big surprise of water shooting straight up in the air or down on the ground either. The point is, I'm not watering this bed anymore because I don't need to, because there's nothing living in here. So we should shut the water off until next year when we need it. I'm going to make some very unhappy wasps here, I know, because I've had a lot of mud dauber style wasps here who are really enjoying it. Now that I have the caps on, and I know you can't see this, but now that I have the caps on, I'm going to pull off the drip irrigation lines and roll those up and get going. I had previously pulled up all the little stakes that were holding these in place. I'll probably find one or two when I'm doing this. That's almost inevitable, especially if you use the metal stakes. I don't prefer to use the metal stakes, but there were no more plastic stakes available when we were doing this. And see, here's one of the metal stakes right there. You can see another one in here. Okay. These are actually frequently used to hold down landscape fabric, but they work fine for holding drip irrigation too. Now all I'm going to do is roll these up, and they have a box that they will live in until next spring. We've got somebody attached here. There we are. Sometimes these can be really hard to get out. But slipping another one in there as a handle usually will do the trick. Once in a rare while, because our soil can be so hard, I've actually had to use greater force, as they say. What I do like about this is it is reusable. What I don't like about it is eventually the emitters will clog on it, especially when you have very alkaline soil like we do. In areas with less alkaline soil, you could probably expect, I would think, at least 5 or 6 years out of these. Sometimes after 2, they're pretty toasty here, and it depends. It used to be there were lots of places in the United States and the world that you could grow vegetables all year round, or at least in the summer, without a need for watering. But I would never consider planting vegetables anywhere anymore now, because with the climate change that we're experiencing, places that don't usually have droughts are having droughts. And there's very few things more frustrating than watching your vegetables die because you had rain early, but now you don't have rain. So to me, if you're serious about having a vegetable garden, you need to have a way to water it. And it sounds romantic and all that kind of stuff. It sounds romantic to go out there with a hose, but I'll tell you what, when you're having to do it twice a day in order to keep your vegetables alive, there's nothing romantic about it. It totally clogs up your life. I am hearing about droughts in places where people have never in cultural memory had droughts. So, to me, I have grown places where I didn't often need to water. When we lived in Massachusetts, once in a while we needed to water there in the summertime. But I'll tell you what, I know that there's a whole bunch of parts of New England this year that were dry as a bone. And yeah, they had to figure out how to water, otherwise they lost everything. So think about how you're going to water, just in case you need to. And have your equipment in place, because one of the problems is if there is suddenly a drought, as you may have noticed, a lot of things are just not available at the store right now. So get your equipment in place ahead of time. So if you need it, you have it. We already have our shopping lists for this coming fall, for this coming year. And we have some of our seeds. We haven't bought everything because a lot of the seeds are not available yet. It's fall. The farmers are just bringing in their crops of seeds. But we are actively looking at what kind of row covers and other things we will need. And we will be buying them in the next couple of months, because waiting until we need them next spring, they simply may not be available. So think of yourself as being in the Wild West and you have to order stuff in from Boston, which is going to come by wagon train. I think that's a real good way to look at it. Okay. Oh, we have a helper. Who's helping again? First things first, let's get out any of these nasty weeds. That was a nasty weed. That one's got stickers on it. This is just grass. About time for me to open up the vault over here and get some more of the ground cherries out. We've got another small crop coming off. I probably need to fertilize these guys a little bit. We froze up another big batch of ground cherries this week, so they're sitting in the freezer waiting to turn into things like coffee cake in the wintertime. Because everybody needs coffee cake in the winter. I'm probably going to be removing these guys. These are a native plant. I think they're native. They're certainly endemic here. They're 4 o'clock. I love the flowers, but they tend to attract bad things like squash bugs and stuff like that. Let's get this up. I had this someplace else, but it fell down the other day. We had a big windstorm that blew all kinds of stuff around. No rain, just the wind. But it means that a few things like this that were nice and tidy sort of got dumped around, including some of the furniture, unfortunately. That's always scary when it picks up furniture and throws it across the yard. Nice. That's pretty amazing, the percentage of the bed that was covered by one box. Okay, I'm gonna go get some rocks. I have rocks over here. Partial cement blocks will work just fine. Okay, it's not going anywhere. One of the things we learned a long time ago is don't just assume that nothing's going to take off around here. We can get gusts of wind on virtually no notice from a blue sky that will throw the yard furniture around. And our yard furniture is not plastic, it is metal. Well, I'm going to go get some more rocks, but you certainly don't need to watch me do that. But this is how we've decided to put our beds to bed this summer. And I've done it before. It works great. Basically in the spring, when we uncover this, usually there's nothing at all growing underneath. If there is, it's super easy to get rid of at that point. And some years, if we have enough moisture, the cardboard will actually disintegrate. Others it won't. But it works just like a plastic tarp and keeps the weeds from growing. Normally over the course of the winter we have some warm spells, and if we have any moisture in the ground at all, we will get weeds. So I'm trying to avoid that process of having to get out here a couple times a month to try and control the weeds. I don't want them going to seed. Don't need any more seeds in my beds. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So I hope this inspires you to figure out how to put your garden to bed so that you'll have less work to do next spring. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because we have a lot more to do here. I need to harvest the husk cherries. I was looking at this bed. There's only about 3 plants in here that have, tomato plants in here that have tomatoes left on them. So this may actually become a winter vegetable bed. We've been debating that. We still have green beans and cabbage in there. The beans over here are coming back, but they're not going to produce. So it's a matter of whether we allow them to be there just in case the deer come back or what. Got to think about that. The pink-eyed purple hull peas, I started harvesting this morning. Got a nice handful of probably a dozen, 15 pods, something like that, that are ready to be shelled out. We tested a few the other days to determine exactly when we should be harvesting them, and we also watched a couple of YouTube videos. This is not something that grows normally where we've ever raised vegetables, so it's a new veggie for us. So we figured we'd listen to people who do this all the time. So lots going on. So until next time, bye.